So we'll just skip a couple of pages and then we'll move on. Dhvani niyamanam sadrishyasya cha saprapanchaha vicharaha. So there are rules for phonetic laws. We are looking at phonetic laws, that is the sound. How does the sound change over pre-Germanic to Latin to English or to later Sanskritam? So how the sounds have moved from one position to another position in their articulation. Okay, so Sadrish, because of the similarity in meaning, we are able to go back and find out the changes that have happened in the sound because of that, because of the Sadrishyam that is there. So AD 1870, in the new book it is in the page number 47, just to note, because the numbers in the old book are very different from the numbers in the new version. AD 1870 तम वर्षात् अर्वाचीनतया भाषाशास्त्रे ध्वनिनियमाः सादृश्यं चेति विषयद्वयं सर्वोत्कर्षेण वर्तते. From 1870, the phonetic rules and the similarity between sound, these are the two important things that have been talked about. Paunafpunyena vicharyate, it is also analyzed again and again. Satyamidam shlaghapadam adhunika shabdikanam yat Shabda-shastram shastrantaraihi tulayitum dhvani-niyama sadrishyabhyam eva te parayanti iti. It is true that, you know, linguists have used Shabda-shastram or linguistics is, they are able to compare the using Dhvani Niyama, using the phonetic laws, and Sadrishyam, that is analogy or similarity. They are able to compare with the other shastras. They are able to compare linguistics with other shastras. They only use these two rules or these two concepts. Etad adigamanat prak, before getting these two concepts in mind, Padanishpatti prakaraha Panini Vyakarana Shikshadishu Yadyapi Adhigataha Tathapi Adhunika Vimarshaka Riti Ananusasaritaya Na Samyak Iva Pratibhati. Even though we have already had the etymological derivation and all that according to Panini's Vyakarana, we have those in place before. Still, it does not align well with the modern way of comparing languages. We do have Panini's Vyakaranam there, which is a common phonetic law. A plus E is A. These are all Gunasandhi, Vriddhi Sandhi. These rules are not applicable for Sanskrit. If you look at all the sutras in Panini Vyakaranam, even though it doesn't say Sanskritam and it is only sound rules, they do not talk about the rules in Sanskritam alone. The sound rules can apply to any language, even though that is there present. Yadyapi adhigataha tathapi adunika vimarshariti ananusaritaya, because it is not aligned with the modern analysis. It doesn't seem right to follow that pattern or follow that shastram. Adhuna AD Ekonavimsha Shatake, in 19th century, Bhasha-shastre nutnataya historical and scientific prakara anusaram adhigateshu vishayeshu phonetic law analogy cha pradhana bhuto staha. So in today's world, these two are the things, concepts that play an important role. Phonetic law. So what is this sound law? Koyam dhvani niyamaha. What is this niyamaha? Niyama shabdasya ko artaha. He goes into law. Rajanityam punaha law padam arthantaram pradishati. It means something completely different. Niyama anuvartinam ishtam palam atata bhutanam anishtam iti vyavastha tatra. If you look at in general law of the country, if you follow the rules, then you have ishtam phalam. If you don't follow the rules, phalam tu anishtam tatra dandaha eva iti. Tatha atra nasti. Prabhu sammitatvat niyamasya. Those niyamas that apply to the subjects is ruled by a government. So those government enforce the laws, and so it depends on the ruler there. Whereas Bhasha-shastre, a phonetic law of a language is a statement of a regular practice of that language at a particular time in regard to the treatment of a particular sound or a group of sounds in a particular setting. So we have to look at Deshakalam. Deshe kidrishaha tatra kidrishaha shabdaha upayujyante tatra dhvanayaha kidrishaha vartante. So we have to look with respect to time and place. We have to look at the sounds. So yasyam ayam ashayah in Sanskritam. In other words, yasyam bhashayam, yasmin kale, yasmin deshe, yeva dhvani niyamaha pravartitaha, adhigataha va, tasyam bhashayam, tasmin kale, tasmin deshe, te naiva vyabhicharanti. Whatever rules apply to a particular language in that particular timing and in that particular area confinement. Okay, every other word that you find in that particular time period will always follow that particular rule. Let's say, for example, today we are looking at 4 books which belong to 16th century. Then the phonetic rules that follow in those 4 books are similar, because it follows a particular time period and it is also existing in a particular desha. Now, somebody discovers 4 more books. Suddenly today, after say 100 years, they suddenly discover 4 books. They find that the phonetic laws, the vocabulary also matches the existing 4 books. So then they will conclude that these new 4 books that have been discovered also belong to the same century. So that is where our phonetic laws help, and similarity helps. Anyadesha kalavachedena tesham vyabhichare api na kapi kshatihi. Even if they are not in sync with another language. Say for example, today's Sanskritam may be completely different. If I write a novel today, my language may be completely different from what Kadambari Bana wrote. Right? So, but that doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't matter. It belongs to the same language. That's all. Purvameva charitarthyat tesham. Purvameva charitartha. Charitartha is useful. They have been successful earlier also. In that same manner, even if there is a difference with respect to desham, it is okay. It doesn't matter. In that particular desha, it is successful. Adhika solra. Yatha Aguna prabhritayaha. Agunaha is a sutram, right? Which gives us gunasandhi. Rama plus ishaha iti rameshaha. Itevam gairvanavanyam samskrita samaye yadyapi abhyabhicharinaha. Yatra samskrite vayam evam rupam pashyamaha. Tatra sarvatra tu a plus e gives you a. Itteva vartate. There is no vyabhichara. Vyabhichara transgression kadayadu. No, there is nothing that transgresses this rule of adgunaha. Within Sanskritam, whoever used Sanskritam in this particular desham, they did not move away from this particular rule. Tathapi Rama is iti angalyam vyabhicharati. Now you got in the same time, let's say there is a word in English, Rama plus is a and e is there. You have Rama, and Ishaha. There is an is here, e. Yeah. So technically, Ramesan ayirkanam. There should have been an inflection happening and both should have combined and it should have become one word like Rameshaha. But that did not happen in English. Even though these words existed at the same time, these sounds also existed at the same time, but it was a different desha, different language. Tatha soachi lope chet padapuranam iti niyamaha Samskrita bhashayaha classical samaye saha iti sas iti sa iti iti avyabhichari api vaidika samaye seti iti vyabhicharati. So classical Sanskrit adopts the sutram soachi lope chet padapuranam. Padapuranam yadi bhavitavyam. Then ach lopa achi pare saha sasya lopaha bhavati. So sas saha iti sa iti in marradu. But when lopa happens, it remains as sa and iti, prakriti bhava. Okay, this remains as prakriti bhava, but so idula undu seyam abdinu. Even in classical Sanskrit, they sometimes they remove and the lopam agiyu seyam illa. So seti ingardu, it happens only in Vaidika samaya. If you combine sa plus iti, saha iti sa iti mati, the next step would be seti iti gunasandhi. Usually gunasandhi cannot happen in classical Sanskrit. It has to be prakriti bhava. It has to remain the same manner. You can do it padapuranam chet. If there is Padapurnam, then you can try. That's all. It is only a conditional rule and it can happen only in certain cases. Whereas in Vaidika Sanskritam, within the same language we are talking about, but the time period is different. Vaidika Sanskritam becomes an earlier time period. There, Vyabhicharati, this rule does not apply there. There we combine and do Gunasandhi there. Seti. Ete niyamaha prayashaha apavadam vina vyavatishtante prayashaha ityanena sapavadatvam api suchitam. So these rules, phonetic rules or sound rules, usually do not have any exceptions. So usually, why do we use the word usually? Prayashaha. Prayashaha iti sapavadatvam api suchitam. Tatra apavadopi bhavet prayaha. We don't know. There could be exceptions to such phonetic rules also. Tatra tatra bhashasu kincha tatra tatra bhashasu vidyamana sajatya darshanena anugata api nayaha anumiyante. When we look at certain similarities in that particular bhasha or within 2-3 bhashas, then we can deduce anumiyate. We can probably conclude that there could have been such rules. Nayaha. Tadrishaha nayaha anugatataya bhasha chakravalampapi vyapnumanti. These rules seem to completely envelop the complete framework of all the bhashas. Some of these natural rules. It could be natural rules or it could be Purusha Krita rules also. So, Kechittu pratiniyata bhashameva tatra. So, Kechittu pratiniyata bhashameva iti some rules apply only to one particular bhasha or it is decided only with that particular bhasha. So, tatra prakriti niyamaha, natural laws, niravacchinnam tatra tatra sadharanyena vartante. So, these natural laws seem to exist everywhere without any obstacle. Niravacchinnam, without any obstacle. They seem to be common in all languages. Natural laws. Apurusha kritatvat prakritehe, because prakriti, nature itself, does not have any purusha prayatnam in that. Bhasha niyamastu atatavidam samavacchinnam tatra tatra vidyante. But whereas bhasha rules, in general, if you look at prakriti niyama, natural laws, then it follows everywhere. If an example for natural laws is something like erosion. Okay, soil erosion. Soil erosion, it doesn't matter whether it was in those days, in Stone Age or in now, or whether it is in Indian coastline or in American coastline. It doesn't matter. Wherever it is, soil erosion is a natural law that applies everywhere in a common way. Whereas bhasha niyamaha tu atathavidam, it is not like that. Savacchinnam tatra tatra vidyante. It changes here and there because it is Purusha kritatvat tasa. Yadyapi dhvani niyamaha bahavaha vartante tathapi sthali pulaka kramena katichideva atra udaharamaha tatra prathamam talabhya niyamaha nirupyate. There may be many rules, so we are only taking some of the rules and showing here. So talabhya niyamaha, the law of palatalization. So palatalization is talavya adhigamanam cha bhasha-shastre ativelam mahiyate. Usually palatalization is much more softer version of the harsher sounds. So if it is a guttural sound, that is in the glottis kitaka, if you have a more harsher sound, then it is softened into certain words and brought into the talu, which is the palate. So when it is brought into the talu, it becomes a softer version of the original. A simple example is Satya in Sanskritam is Satcha in Prakritam or Pali. Mithya, Micha, Vidya, Vidya. It softens the effect of the Samyukta Akshara. It becomes more softer in the Prakrit or Pali. That is the palatalization. Example for Sanskritam to Prakritam. Now we also have from pre-Germanic to Latin to Sanskritam. He is going to give us some examples for those also. Ayam cha niyamaha prachina ajvichara shodhane mahadupakaroti. This helps us in understanding the vowels, the analysis of vowels Olden days vowels, what was there? If this vowel was there, then what happens to the consonant that is there before? Does it move from being guttural to velar, guttural to talavyam? Abdi. So, kova shabdikaha talavya niyamam imam tatpurvataya adhijagama iti anischayat. We don't know exactly from when this talavya niyama, law of palatalization, came up. Because of that, tadrisha niyama prayukta pratha na kasyapi ekasya iti vishada aspadam. So it is indeed a sad thing that we don't know whom to assign this palatalization to, who recognized it in the beginning. We don't know the founder of this rule. Okay, because the next one, Murdhanya law, is actually Fortunatov's Longro, which means the person Fortunatov identified it and he wrote it. So he is the creator of that law or the founder of that. Discovery has been done by him. So it is named after him. Whereas palatalization does not have, we don't know who started this or who recognized it in the beginning. Tadrisha niyama adhigantra nischayam adhikritya AD 19 शतकादारभ्य एतावत् पर्यन्तं प्रचरन् वाद कोलाहलः निष्प्रयोजनकः एव. So if we try to argue about who started this and all, it is of no use here. This sort of a kolahalam is of no use. Prathamatah talavya niyamam adhikritya आनुषंगिकतया 1875 तमे वत्सरे स्व उपन्यास मध्ये विल्हेल्म थॉम्सन नाम्ना शाब्दिकेन किंचिदिव सूचितम्. So this person has first in his upanyasa, in his lecture, he first indicated it as a subsidiary rule or a secondary rule. Anushangikataya, he spoke about this palatalization a little bit. That's all. Palatalization padam cha तदुपन्यास क्रोडीकरण पत्रिकायाम अप्रकाशितायाम लिखितम अस्ति. This palatalization has been written in his lecture, written form of his lecture, but it has not been given as a word. Aதாவது the word had not been coined. Aprakashitayam. Krodikaran patrikayam aprakashitayam. Krodikaranam nale listed in his patrika, in his journal article. Probably he wrote a lecture article or a journal article in which this word had not been written. Anantaram padametat kramashaha paramparaya Johannes Schmidt. Oh, illa aprakashitayam patrikayam likitam asti. Sorry, in his unpublished journal, this word palatalization has been given. In his lecture, he spoke about it, but in the journal article that was not published by him, this word seems to have occurred. Then, after this Wilhelm Thomson, Johannes Schmidt, Isaias Stegner, College, பேரெல்லாம் ஒரு மாதிரியா இருக்கு. கால் வர்னர் பிரபிருதிபிஹி விமர்சகவர்யைஹி பிரகாசிதாசு பத்ரிகாசு in the articles that were published by these linguists asakrat upayuktataya, it has been used many times. This word palatalization seems to have been used by the latter linguists. तत्तद विमर्शकेन परिष्कृततया च शाब्दिक समय प्रसिद्धम वरीवर्ति. Then by the time these people had written in their journal article, this word palatalization, concept of palatalization, seemed to have gained some prasiddhata. सोयम नियमः मातृभाषास्थ मध्य अधः कंठ्य अक्षराणि अचः च विषयी करोति. So अधः कंठ्य is k, kh, g, gh, idella. So these are the letters that it talks about. Achaha, a, which comes from the kantha. So guttural. Those letters are being addressed in this rule. Matrabhashayam trayaha kanthyavargaha. So Matrabhasha here does not refer to Sanskritam. It refers to the pre-Germanic Matrabhasha. So trayaha kanthyavargaha vartante. Adah kantyaha, madhya kantyaha, agra kantyascha. Okay, te kramena yatha, back gutturals is called velar, middle gutturals, and then front gutturals. So, I'm just reverse engineering here. So, this must be cha, cha, ja, and ja, front gutturals. And then you have ka, kha, ga, gha, which is the middle guttural. In the back guttural irukka pathila, this is ka, kha. Idu enganna, you will see this word in Urdu. Actually, Persian and Urdu influence lada, innamu they use this back guttural. If you remember the old Hindi movie, Qayamat se Qayamat takkumbo, adu vandu ezhudarichu, you don't write it as K-A-Y-A, you write it as Q-A-Y-A. So you don't pronounce it as Qayamat se Qayamat tak, but you have to pronounce it Qayamat se Ka. Adu angerundu varano. It has to come from there. Hud, and the Kha vera, Ha vera. It comes more from within the throat. So it's a very tough letter to pronounce and tough letter to recognize also. They have two different for example, ipa Hindi la vandu ja podrom and then you have a pulli vekkirom keela. Z nu pronounce பண்ணுவா. They will zulm அப்படிம்பா. Zulf. Zulf is, they don't have a separate letter in Hindi for that. Whereas in Arabic or Urdu, they have a separate letter for that. Ja is different from za. When you transfer it to Hindi, you will write it with just one dot, indicating that it is a loan word from Urdu. So zulf, zulmi, idella use பண்ணுவோம். அந்த மாதிரி ka also, they will write ka and put a dot underneath. So which means it is a loan word from Urdu. Adhan the back guttural letter. Okay. So Anunasikastu Sarvesham Sadharanaha, it is a common thing for all these three, Adakantya, Madhyakantya and Agrakantya. Atra Niyama Akaraha. So what is the rule here? During the Aryan period, prior to the change of primitive Indo-Germanic A to A, Indo-Germanic velars and middle gutturals, when followed by E or A or I, palatal vowels and semi-vowels, are changed into the corresponding palatal explosives. So, inge vandu gutturals are the, so velars are the lower ones, middle gutturals is our ka, ka, ga, ga. Sanskritatla we only deal with these two. Okay? Ka, ka, ga, ga and cha, cha, ja, ja. So, whatever is found as ka in the old Germanic has become ka in Sanskritam. We have done away with this entire set of sounds. The first set of sounds is not at all there in Sanskrita. Right? Anala, it becomes difficult for us to understand what they mean by these sounds. So, when followed, velars and middle gutturals, ka and ka, when followed by e or a or ya, are changed into ka and cha. This is what it is. Ayam bhavaha. Arya dashayam matrabhashiya, that is primitive Germanic language. Matrabhashiya ekarasya akaratmana viparinamat. I am not sure what the sound is. We will take it as ekaraha. Ekaraha akaratmana viparinamat. When it changes into that, Prak E A I Kareshu Anyatamena Anusritaha. So there is a Ka, there is an A before, there is an A before and an E before, E later. Matrabhashiya Madhya Adahkantyaha Yathagunam Talavyaha Bhavanti. So this is our rule here. Ka, Ka and Gha, Gha. Ellame and the pronounce panno. If it is ka, kha, ga, gha, and if it is followed by these vowels, it turns into cha, cha, ja, ja. This is a rule. So that let's put this rule in the examples that are given here. Let's say the pre-Indo-Germanic word is ke. Then a becomes a, ka becomes cha, ka becomes ka in Latin, and then it becomes cha in Sanskritam. Latin retains many of the original. So, we use only Q in Urdu when you are translating that. The same here, Latin has taken this Q and changed it into QA, quarter. You actually don't say quart it is a different kind of pronunciation, right? So charus, kerus becomes charus. So the ka becomes cha, a becomes a. Since the a becomes a, vowel change has already been noted. Now we are only going to look at the change of ka to cha, the velar to palate. Chaturas, chatvaraha irukalla, chatvaraha came from ketwaras, which is actually quarter. Quatrema in Mexican, right? So in Latino languages and all, you will have quatra. Even in Italian, you will have this quatra there. So that qua is actually a sound that comes from the lower kantha, adakanta. So that has slowly been softened into chatvara in Sanskrit. Tenke, pancha. Again, a becomes a, the ka becomes cha. It stays the same. The Anunasika stays the same. Chyavate suchihi. I'm just giving you the Sanskritam words for this so that you understand the original, how that has transformed here. Atha pratyudaharanam. Now we know that every rule will have an exception here, and the exception here is kakud in Indo-Germanic has stayed kakud. The ka has remained as ka. It has not changed into chakud. Chana marla, or nor has it changed into chachud or kachud. Adi edume andamadri, it has not changed. Kalaha, kalos has stayed as kala. It is not changed into chala. Agat, igat, agat. The ga remains the same. It is not changed into ajat. Shukra. The ka here in shukros has not changed here, and it remains as ka. These are some of the examples, counter examples. Atra pratyudaharaneshu talavyaniyamaha na pravartate kutaha e I karani kara anyatamena ananusritatvat kanthyaksharanam, because it does not follow with the inge parango. Here there is this a here. Yeah. Let me just do that once more time. What is the rule here? A, E and I should be following the ka, the guttural sound. If you find in this table, you have this A here. There is an A here. So, cha, it is changed to cha. There is again an E here. So, the ka has changed to cha. There is an U here. So, this is, sorry, not U. In the E, there is an E here. So, it has changed to cha here. Suchi. Whereas in these, you find that this is an U, so this does not change. You understand? This is an A here, so the ka remains as ka, it does not change as cha. This again is an A, so it does not change into ja. Shukros is an O here, the vowel is O, so it has not changed. Do you realize? So, A, E or Ya. Idu irundada, the change will occur. Palatalization will occur. Atra idam bodhyam niyamaha ayam Indo-Germanic bhashasu matrubhashastha ekarastha Aryan bhashayam akaratmana viparinamat prak eva savakashaha natu tataha api anantaram. So the palatalization has already happened before this vowel change has happened. அதுக்கு என்ன இதெல்லாம் எனக்கு தெரியல. I don't know what is the evidence that he comes up with. That's fine. கால விசேஷே Indo-Germanic A O ஆகாராः Aryan bhashayam akaratmana viparine muhu. They have changed in this manner even before. So tadrisha ritya yadi ke karaha ka karatmana parinataha tarhi paschat taladyaniyamaha niravakasha eva. So then so the change of vowel should have happened only later, because If this vowel is present, only then can you do the palatalization. If the change of the vowel had already happened, then we don't have the presence of that vowel for us to change. Let's say K has already become Ka in Indo-Germanic. Then it will not change in Sanskritam. You understand? Because the K remained as K and it changed into Che first, then it would have changed into Cha. So the vowel change, the sound of vowel change should have happened later. The idu madri lopa shakalyasya solrom illaya. So when the lopa happens, after that you cannot do gunam there. அப்படின்னு ஒரு ரூல் இருக்குல்ல, விப்ரதிஷேத பூர்வம், if something has already been done before, then you cannot apply a previous rule to a later transformation. That's what it is. पुर्यदा? एवं स्थिते अत्र जॉर्ज कर्टिस नाम शाब्दिकवरः बभ्राम कवर्गीय शाखात्रय अनभिज्ञः तु सः. Okay, he is also giving us the confusion that another person has given. Babhrama iti chet, he is round and round, he has been roaming around with this law of palatalization. He did not know that there were three types of kavarga here. So Samskrita kataraha iti padam asti khalu. So kataraha, koteros, and Greek whatever Gothic ityatra vaishamyam jnatva samechikirshaya vakshyamanaritya abhipreyaya. Why do we have to know a wrong theory? Nanakku theriyala. We have to go over that also. Fine, I'll just quickly go over that. Samskrite vidyamanasya chakarasya matrabhashayam ka ityeva prakritihi saeva Samskrite cha iti. So he has given a wrong rule that cha in Sanskritam indicates that the original pre-Germanic should have been only ka. It cannot be k as in QE irundirka mudiyadu. It could not have been that. Only ka in pre-Germanic could have changed into Sanskritam. Latin bhashayam k iti cha parinamate. That is how it is changed. Evam kataras ityasya matrabhashayam kataras ityeva prakritihi. That should have been the original. Latin bhashayam keturos iti viparinamaha. So what he is taking here is, he is saying that Sanskritam and pre-Germanic seem to be more in tune than pre-Germanic and Latin. You understand? But the distance is not conducive to that kind of a thing. Latin has more closeness towards pre-Germanic for it to retain some of the rules which are there in primitive Germanic, and Sanskrit can be a little bit more removed because of the Desha Vyavastha. So there can be more change in Sanskritam. He did not take into account this kind of a Deshastha geographical division. Yatra prakriti bhuta kakara nishta akaraha ekaratmana viparinamate. Latin madhye tatraiva Samskrite chakaratmana viparinamaha. He just said Latin did a vowel change, whereas Sanskritam did a consonant change. Yatra tu kakarastha akaraha akaratmana eva sthitaha tatra kakaraha na vikriyate. Akarascha e a o karayoho prakritihi itihi pracham matam. So this is the olden methodology of thinking that a is the original prakriti of a and o. That is why all of these problems have arisen. Whereas prakriti bhute kataras ityasmin vidyamanasya ekasyeva akarasya ekatra akaratmana aparatra ekaratmana anyatra okaratmana vipariname nimittam tu na jnayate. See, there is no reason for such a change. He doesn't give a reason for change. That is why we cannot accept the olden methodology. Anubhava balam eva tatra manam tadrisha parinamaha katham. How can such a change occur? Ityakanshayam kakaranishta akarasya asti shaktitrayam evam. Etacha प्राचीन शाब्दिकैः बॉप प्रभृतिभिः अंगीकृतम् आधुनिकैः पुनः गौरवदुष्टत्वात् अननुगमात् च मतमिदं निराकृतम्. So this is what we want in conclusion. This entire this thing of argument of Sanskritam being closer to Indo-Germanic and Latin being a little, there are more changes in Latin than these two, is an older version, and that is not taken Gaurava Dushtatvat, because it doesn't carry weight. So that's why we are not able to take this matam. Yathokta talabhya niyamaha adhigataha murdhabhishiktaha. The palatalization rule that we said before is the best way to approach it. यद्यपि एतन्नियम उल्लङ्घिनः केचन शब्दाः समुपलभ्यन्ते, even though there are some exceptions to this rule, तथापि न ते तत्त्वतः तथा. Actually they are not in that manner. If we analyze it closely, तादृशाः शब्दाः अनुकरण शब्दाः वा स्युः. It could be just अनुकरणम, imitative sounds, सादृश्य प्रयुक्ताः, or it can be just இந்த ஆனைக்கு அறம் குதிரைக்கு குர்ரம் அப்படின்னு சொல்ற மாதிரி, it could be just a similarly used word, that's all. It could have come into the bhasha later. Bhashantarebhyah adhamarnataya udhritaha. Adhamarnamna loan words in artham. These could have been taken from other languages as loan words. Okay. So the next one is Murdhanya Niyamaha.